Welcome back. The EFF and the DA are holding opposing rallies in Port Elizabeth ahead of a motion of no confidence against Nelson Mandela Bay Mayor Athol Trollip. The EFF plans to remove the DA from power in a vote scheduled for tomorrow. Our reporter Sandy McCowen is in Port Elizabeth. Sandy, of course, we know the DA's rally is set to start at 12 o'clock, but ahead of that, you're speaking to the man of the moment, Athol Trollip.
Yes, residents are gathering here, heeding the call from the DA-led coalition, asking them to come out and support them, to show the opposition councillors that they do not want change in government in the city. As we know, there's been last-minute wranglings behind the scenes, and I'm now joined by Mayor Nelson Mandela Bay Mayor Athol Trollip to discuss what has been going on behind the scenes. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Sandy.
We heard that you've been in discussions with the Patriotic Alliance. We heard that Marlon Daniels confirmed this morning to us that he will be voting with the DA. What were the discussions about?
Well, look, I think first of all, Gayton McKenzie's letter is very, very clear, totally unambiguous. He said his party could not go along with the racial reasons for replacing myself as the mayor. I mean, he said South Africans have turned their back on racial polarity, and we are in 100% agreement with that. So that was a really good foundation to start our discussions. We've already been in a coalition with the Patriotic Alliance, albeit for a short time. At that time, they were insisting that they would be given the position of deputy mayor. There was still a lot of controversy around Mongameli Bobani, and he'd taken us to court about him being removed, and it wasn't available at the time. And I'd made it quite clear to the Patriotic Alliance that as long as it was not available, I couldn't offer something that I couldn't deliver. The interesting thing now is that we've done away with that position, and the opposition parties have moved a motion to reintroduce the position. And on the strength of reintroduction of the position, I've agreed with the Patriotic Alliance that we would appoint them to the deputy mayor post. Now, obviously, you need the majority of the councillors to make that decision. We believe that we've now got 60. And the other opposition parties have got 60, but there's not a given that all of those parties will vote for the same thing at every time we have a council meeting, because people who represent voters have got to do what the voters want them to do. So, for example, when you vote on a budget or an adjustment budget or on items that deal with service delivery, those people will get a mandate from their electorate, and the mandate is to get government working, to be corruption-free and to be clean and to be honest and make improvements in people's lives.
Now, as you said, you have worked with Marlon Daniels before, but this is still also the man who brought in the last no-confidence vote against you with the UDM. Do you think you're going to be able to work with him this time round?
Well, you know what's really interesting is that Marlon Daniels is a proportional representative councillor, and I've had a number of meetings now with Gayton McKenzie. Gayton McKenzie, people have got perceptions about Gayton McKenzie. My experience with Gayton McKenzie is that he is a frank man, is a man of his word, and when we did have a falling out about the deputy mayor position in the past, he never slagged me off in the media and said horrible things about me or the DA. He just said to me, look, we can't carry on working. So I've had a great interaction with him. We're honest and frank with each other. Even these discussions this last week have been just like that. And I think we've come closer to each other, and he's made a commitment that he is committed to making this coalition work. I wrote to him last night after having read his letter, and I said, I'm committed to work for a South Africa like that. And he came back and he says he has no doubt about that. So I'm prepared to work with any South African that wants to build a South Africa for all the people, and a South Africa that eschews racism and racial polarization. So on those grounds, I think we've got a firm footing.
Is it fair for the other coalition, your other coalition partners who have been working with you since the beginning, and they also hold one seat, but you're now giving a new party the deputy mayor position? Do you think that's fair on the other two coalition partners?
Let me tell you what my experience has been with my coalition mayoral committee. They've been the most extraordinary people. When we heard that the EFF were going to bring a motion to remove us, I appealed to them to carry on working, keeping their heads held high and delivering until the last day. They're all committed to doing that. All of them said to me, if you need my position to recraft a coalition, you're welcome to take my position. Bringing Marlon Daniels on board means that one of our mayoral committee members will have to sacrifice their position. I've had incredible cooperation. Not one of the other coalition of parties have said, we insist on this position. They're all committed to delivery. It's not about positions, it's not about money, it's not about status. So I want to say, working with the ACDP and COPE has been an extraordinary privilege. They've been there to serve the people, not themselves.
And just lastly, there is a perception around Gayton McKenzie and the Patriotic Alliance as being a gangster party. Does that not go against the DA's principles to be working with a party like them?
Look, I don't think it's a perception. I think it's a fact. And Gayton McKenzie's written books about his life. He's written books about where he came from and the fact that he was a gangster, that he was a criminal. He went to jail and he paid for his offences. Since then, I believe he's had quite a good track record of inspiring people in prisons, inspiring kids at school, especially from poor, disadvantaged communities, to actually steer away from a life of crime because it doesn't pay. He is controversial. He'll tell you that himself. But I have to take it on face value, and I also have to keep this government going. I believe the majority of this people of the city voted for change. We're busy delivering that change, and Gayton McKenzie wants to become part of it. I've welcomed him on board.
And, you know, one day in politics is a very long time, and anything can happen tomorrow. If by some chance you don't win the vote, are you ready to sit in the opposition benches?
Sandy, I've said that from the outset, even before this agreement with the Patriotic Alliance. We're not here at all costs to be in government. So if we lose it through some kind of political treachery or disregard of the majority of the voters in the city, we'll go back to the benches of the opposition. I've spent 23 years in elected office in opposition. I'm prepared to go back there. What we do know in future is that we must win a big enough majority to implement our policies and to continue bringing about change.
Thank you so much, Mayor, for joining us.
All right, Sandy McCowen.